evening, everyone. Sorry if you were like going, what is this girl doing? Because I'm trying a new tech thing tonight, and when I do new tech things, it's always a bit of a challenge. And so anyway, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Real Lives with Lisa. And tonight we have two guests, not one, but two guests. We have Keith Allen Weedman, who is a business coach and an empowerment coach. We're going to find all about what he does in a minute. And we have the lovely Courtney Fraser, who's also a coach and an author. As you can see, her wonderful book, Dreams Come True. And as most of you know, I run something called the Dream Team Podcast, or the Dream Team Life Podcast. And of course, so she has a special place in my heart, because anyone who believes that people should live their dreams and that dreams come true is my soulmate. So let's start with Keith. So what we're going to do is just find out a little bit more about you. So Keith, now where are you from? Whereabouts? You're from the United States, but whereabouts?
I am in Columbus, Indiana.
Hold on a sec, Keith. I can't hear you. That's because I need to go. Be helpful. Can you hear me?
I can hear you fine.
Let's see if we got volume. Try again.
Columbus, Indiana.
Hold on a minute. Hold on a second. I know where my problem is. I am having so much fun with tech tonight. Hold on a sec. Hold, everybody. I have to kill this other feed down here somewhere. It is... Where's the eject button for that? No. Hold on, guys. Do you know, this is when I try to be clever. It's never a good idea. If I go here... And I go, I got you now. But I just need to kill the, we got music now. We don't need music. Here we go. I need to kill this. Yay! Okay. Are we there? Can you hear me?
I can hear you fine.
Oh, I can hear you now. Hopefully everyone can hear both of us.
Excellent.
Okay, so everyone knows that I'm blonde, tech, challenging. Okay. So on that note, Keith, who's not so technically challenged as me, how are you, and tell us how we met, and tell us a little bit about what you're doing and a little bit about your story, Keith.
You and I met in the Knowledge Broker Blueprint, and I help leaders change the lives of the people they lead. I do this in multiple ways through brief interactions. I've got a passion to do what I do, and I began my work actually working within Indiana's welfare system. I helped change people's lives within Indiana's welfare system. So we do have something in common, Courtney. We come from similar beginnings.
Ah.
And whether or not you're an executive in a corporation or you're somebody receiving public assistance, we each have within us an abundance of potential still hidden within. And that potential can be unleashed if we believe it can be unleashed. And that's my passion. I love unleashing hidden potential and helping leaders learn how to do this too.
So Keith, you have a background in the corporate world, don't you? So is that what you did primarily before, or were you always in the empowerment field?
I was a county director within Indiana's social service system. So I was a state employee for
so you were in corporate within the state itself.
Yes.
Okay. So
and then I went from there. I became an executive director for Volunteers in Medicine, which is a free clinic, a free health clinic in Columbus, Indiana. And that's where I renewed my passion to change people's lives, because the people we were serving were people that had a lot more potential within them. We all have an abundance of potential, and you and I are both discovering and unleashing more of ours.
Exactly.
And I suspect Courtney's doing that too.
Yes, well, let's let Courtney. So now we met on a different system. It was called Launch and Scale, wasn't it? Yes, we met in another group. And so tell me a little bit about your background and what you're up to now. What are you here to do?
So I grew up with a learning disability, and at 15 was diagnosed with epilepsy. I've been seizure-free since 2004. Fully off of my medicine, seizure medicine for epilepsy. since May 2017.
Wow.
So I'm in remission right now. But I could still have seizures in the future, but I'm trying not to focus on that. I'm trying to be positive, think positively that I won't have seizures again since it's been so long. But there are times that my mind does go there, and you can't help that.
Yeah.
You just have to realize how far you've come, and like, so in May I started a group on Facebook called Miracle Coalition for those with disabilities. Originally, it was just going to be for epilepsy, but then I felt this tug that everybody with disabilities feels the same way. They feel mistreated, misunderstood, alone. So, and that's exactly how I felt. And so I wanted to bring them hope that they can reach their dreams, even if everybody around them says that they can't, or get limitations put on them by society. And then, I mean, I put limitations on myself because of what people were telling me that was best for me, or what I couldn't do. And I used it as motivation to prove them wrong. And one of my, as you can see by the title of my book, one of my dreams was to publish a book of my poems.
Yeah.
And it took 20 years of writing poems, 14 years of dreaming that I could possibly do my own book,
Yeah.
on just months to actually get it published.
Yeah.
So it might take longer than those that are regular, like normally able, but I did it.
So
And
yeah.
if you get discouraged, just keep going.
Yeah, I was going to say, so I mean, when I first met you, you hadn't done the book, had you? I think you've done that in the last year. Yeah. And I mean the transformation, Courtney, in your confidence, and you have grown so much, and you are now such a leader for people. And I mean, this is why we do this work. This is why we're coaches and mentors and leaders, because we want to make a difference, and you are so doing that. And so what do you think? I'm going to come back to Keith and ask you the same question, so be prepared. So what made you, lots of people go through what you go through, okay? Lots of people have struggles. Lots of people think it would be a good idea to help others, but they don't actually do it. So what has made you take this action? What has made you really make it happen? What are the constituent parts?
Well, honestly, it was when I saw that ad back in April of last year, in the middle of at the beginning of the pandemic, for launch your expertise online. And I just clicked on the ad. Something inside of me was like, do it. Click on it. And then I felt this tug to join the coaching program where I met you, Lisa, and a lot of new friends, and just the encouragement that I got from the like-minded people in different groups, that like to just, even though I got discouraged with how long it was taking to get it published, like I literally said, I was like, I reminded myself when I was going for my black belt in Taekwondo, it took me 11 years of twice a week classes to get there. So I I had to remember that black belt attitude. And I was like, okay, it might take a while, but it will get done. And now it's there on ebook and paperback. And I'm hoping to do an audio version too.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. I was going to ask you what's next. Yeah. And so, I mean, that's such an inspiring story. And because every time one of us does something that we set out to do, big or small, it means if we can do it, someone else can do it. You know, I can, you can too. It's such a powerful phrase. So Keith, what has made you step up as well? I mean, your business, unleashing the hidden potential and people around you. You said that, you know, you got inspired, but lots of people, like I said, you know, get inspired. Lots of people have good ideas. Lots of people start things and they don't carry on. And I know because I see you going live every day. You're Mr. Live. You're talking to everyone every day and you're so consistent. So how has that journey been for you? What has made you take that path now and keep going, keep building?
We always have a choice. Either we can move towards something compelling or we cannot do that. And I've spent 15 years of my life not doing that. And I spent just as many years of my life doing that. And without question, even though I'm old enough to be retired, I'll be spending the rest of my life, as long as I'm capable physically and mentally, I'll be focused on helping leaders change the lives of people they lead.
And what does that give you? Explain to me, and I'm going to come back to you with this question, Courtney, in a minute. So what do you get out of that, Keith? Explain to people what drives people like yourselves. What are the feelings? What's your why?
Well, it does relate to emotions. Every time I help a leader change the life of somebody they lead, I unleash within myself passion, joy, and self-fulfillment. I feel value. I experience value. And I love doing that. You could say it's addictive. I believe Tony Robbins is addicted to changing people's lives.
Yes.
When he was in the beginning of the pandemic, he didn't realize that he could pivot to virtual stages. He always resisted that. And once he did, he reaches a lot more people today by being open to virtual stages than he ever reached when he was doing live stages.
And so for our viewers who might not know who Tony Robbins is, he is, I think, literally the most successful life and business coach in the world. He has done transformational work with tens of millions of people. He's been doing it since he was originally he started off as an NLP coach, but he is every kind of coach you would imagine. He is truly genius, and he runs something called Unleash the Power Within, which is his sort of starting course, which I highly recommend if any of you can get to his Unleash the Power Within virtual event. And he has a challenge actually tonight. In fact, we're missing it because we're here. He's actually got a challenge called New World, New. Do you remember what it's called? New World, New Order. What's it called?
New World, New You.
New World, New You. Okay, so if you want to go and look at that on Facebook, but don't go till you finished. Then you can go and look at that later.
Exactly.
It'll be on replay. You get into the group completely free, and it is the most extraordinary thing. Courtney, have you done any work with Tony Robbins, or who have you mentors been? No, you haven't done Tony.
I have Nick and Megan Unsworth and Brian and Stephanie Delaney.
Yeah.
The coaches and their whole team.
Yeah.
In Launch and Scale. And just the community is a big part of it. Like, because there are times that you feel discouraged and the community supports you, and then you can help them when they feel discouraged. And I've recognized myself and a lot of my friends that aren't following their dreams. Some of them are saying, "Oh, I don't have any." I'm like, that's sad because like you have to, like if you don't have dreams, what are you here for? You know, like you have to work towards something.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And so like trying to get them to like think of the like what they might like to do. And I have a couple friends that actually I met last year that and earlier this year that want to publish their own books of poetry. And I was like, okay, I can help with that now. Like I can help you or I can guide you to somebody that can help you.
And
So
so community, and I think, and Keith and I from KBB Knowledge Broker Blueprint with Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi, it's the same. It's having a community that supports and finding people who say you can. It's just a matter of like, you don't know how, find out how. Ask
yeah.
somebody. It's
And
the,
I like the saying I can, I will watch me that Brian and Nick always tell us to do. And
Mhm.
another thing that helps is done beats perfect.
I love that one. Yes.
Like every time I get like I literally get in my own way when I think about stuff like doing the audio for my book. I keep stopping because I remember growing up and being bullied about the way I talk
Yeah.
in school.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, what if other people judge me now? And it's not good enough. But I'm slowly getting past that and just knowing that my voice and your voice do count and you need to use it to help others.
Oh, so powerful.
And
And
that I find that there's different, like there's written voices and spoken. And the part I'm working on is obviously my spoken voice because I love writing poetry, so and that's how I make sense of the world around me.
yeah, yeah, yes. Do you have any pieces memorized?
No,
Oh,
but
now that's a challenge. So next time I have you on a show, I want you reading your poetry, young lady. I want you knowing a piece off by heart. You see, I
I
caught
do
you
so
there.
many. It's
So yeah, because it's like singing, isn't it? It helps us with our actually singing helps with our confidence to speak, and so reading poetry would do the same. But you've got tons of poetry to read because you've written it all. It's a beautiful thing writing poetry, and it's a bit of a dying art, and I'm so pleased that you've picked it up because it's something I think people don't have time for anymore because they don't think it has a purpose. But it's art. So look, all art has a purpose. So, do you write poetry, Keith?
I do not write poetry, but I wrote a book. At
What was
least
your
I've written the first draft of my book.
What's your book going to be about?
My book is about 12 ways to change people's lives through brief interactions.
Ah, that is so cool.
Same thing I teach.
Yes, you were making a book of it. So again, then what counts as a brief interaction, Keith? In your world, what's a brief interaction?
To me, a brief interaction is one brief conversation. It might be as short as 2 to 5 minutes.
Like your Facebook Lives, which will shorten to the point. Yeah.
Yeah, but when you're in an interaction, you're having a conversation with somebody.
Okay.
For example, I got together with an entrepreneur for a cup of coffee and conversation. First time we met, getting to know her, she shared that she was turning down opportunities to deliver speeches. Mm-hmm. I was astounded when she said that, and they were speeches about her business. I then challenged her. She could overcome that fear. And I got her to make a commitment to do 2 speeches in 60 days. She did. 4 months later, she tagged me on a post on LinkedIn. She was doing her 6th speech. It was a video recorded on LinkedIn, YouTube, and a whole bunch of other places. And she tagged me saying, finally over my fear of public speaking. That's what's possible when you focus on helping somebody change their perception.
And it's such a beautiful thing to be able to do for somebody, to be able to help them when they're stuck and see them get them over the hill, get them over the mountain. What I think you just described is a phrase I often call, borrowing someone else's belief. So you believed in her, you told her she could, and then she did. But sometimes when we don't believe in ourselves, we need a coach or a mentor or a trainer. We need somebody to come in and give us a framework of belief. And even when we're going, that doesn't make any sense, I can't do that, there's no way I'm going to be able to do that. But that person says, yes, you can. And then you just keep taking action and then you do it. And that is amazing. So that's been my life. And when anyone says I can't, I see it as a challenge immediately. It's very dangerous when people tell me I can't. But that's just my personality. But I wasn't always like that. It's because a lot of people told me that I shouldn't do things. And then I kept kicking back at it. So I got good at kicking back at it. It's all become like part of me now that they say, no, right, no, we're ignoring that. So Courtney, what other dreams do you have in your future now? What are your dreams for the rest of your life? You're very young lady. You've got a lot of ideas. So what are they going to be? What are your dreams?
Well, I'm already working on my next book of poetry.
Mm-hmm.
I already have 20-something new poems written, so hopefully it won't take 21 years this time.
Gets quicker each time, I believe.
Yeah. Once you do it once, it's like, okay, I can do this. No fooling around. Like there is a process. Like you have to think of the topic you want to write about. You have to think of the type of poem you want to write, and then you have to find at the beginning of my journey with poetry, I always wanted to write poems that rhyme, so I had to find words that rhyme. For example, I wanted to do one on epilepsy. Well, there's nothing that rhymes with epilepsy. No. So I was like, what else can I do? And then I said, well, I can do a poem tell your old life with a disability. And that's what I did. Mm-hmm. And I made a rhyming one. And now my favorite kind to do is riddles.
Okay.
So I've done one for each of the 50 states of the United States for the book that just came out. And now the next book I'm working on is going to have countries in it.
It's brilliant. So you're basically one book down and you're off and running, and I can see 100 coming out in different ideas. There was a chap. Yeah, I actually, you know what? And there was a guy I met in England, and he started with an ebook back when ebooks weren't big, and he did the how to buy a house in some rare island in the world, right? It was a weird thing, and he bought property there, so he wanted to help other people buy property there, and he did this one book. And so that was really easy. I guess I could do it for this country and this country and this country and this country, and he ended up with hundreds, and he ended up with a publishing empire. Because of that one book that he started, because he had his little bit of knowledge that he wanted to share. So from one first step, my dear, I can see this. I mean, it's the same with Hay House. Louise Hay, who sadly I think died last year, the Hay House Publishing. She started with one book, Louise, I Heal Your Life. That was her thing. And then she ended up having a publishing house. So I'm challenging here. You see, we can see where we can go with this. But I want to come back to, and I think both of you would agree, with the voice. What we're doing tonight is we're speaking our truth, and we're sharing our truth, and we're sharing that we're available to help, and we're sharing ideas and a little bit about how we got there. And I think that is the key now to changing the world, is we can all hear each other so that the good voices can come through. Because there's some bad voices out there as well, but we have to make sure there's more good voices. Not going to talk any politics today. But the whole point being that we need to support each other's voices. And that's partially why I do this show, is to give you guys a stage and give you a platform to get your voices out. Because that's part of my mission, is to help people be heard so that everyone can have a voice in this world. And I think that's the key. So that's my why. So answering my own question for earlier on, that's why I'm here. So now going back to you, Keith. So are you actually coaching one-on-one now, or do you do group coaching, or what do you do exactly? How do you help people? Like if I came to you and say, Keith, I want to work with you, what would that look like?
I typically call what I do training.
Okay.
And I do blend some coaching in with it, but I focus on teaching first. So I first teach ideas, and then I give them a call to action to apply those ideas to elevate their skill to affect change in others.
Wow. Okay, can you give me an example? Because it sounds so good, and yet I'm kind of like, what does that mean? So can you give me an example of maybe someone came to you and they did this and you taught them that, or?
Well, the first thing I focus on is positive feedback.
Okay.
You can actually change the way somebody perceives themselves and their situation simply by giving them positive feedback, if you do it sincerely. So I give people a 2 to 5 minute call to action to change somebody's perception. And in the process of doing that, they also evoke positive emotions within the person that they give positive feedback to. Positive emotions elevate performance. In addition to that, each time you elevate somebody else's performance, give somebody positive feedback, and they let it in, then you will generate within yourself positive emotions. Positive emotions elevate our performance. It's a win-win. Every employer, every company, every leader, every manager, every executive would benefit from creating more win-wins. Positive feedback is one way. Constructive feedback is another way. Typically, with constructive feedback, people are not very effective at giving it or receiving it. Constructive feedback, when given in the proper way, is the greatest gift that one human being can give to another, because it's how we elevate one another's performance. If you go back to Mike Krzyzewski, the basketball player coach for Duke, he's arguably the best coach on the planet. And what he says is every year he changes his approach based upon his team, because he recognizes that every team member responds to his actions in a different way. He changes his actions to bring the best out of his players. That's what every leader, every manager, every executive can do. Change their actions to bring the best out of the people that they work with, the people they lead.
Yeah, and I want to get back to something you said earlier, which is about positive feedback and just positive statements make a difference. They make a difference in our brain, don't they? So if someone says something nice to us, it actually changes us completely. It's not fluffy. People think, oh, that's nice. Yes, you're going to feel better. Or someone said, but it's the moment someone says something good to you, it changes your whole body chemistry, and that's why you said we can perform better, because. So when the old way is, when someone's doing something you don't want to do, you scream at them and tell them they're terrible, that's actually going to make it harder for them to perform well, because you've added another level of stress on top of that. So, I mean, that sort of makes sense when I say it like that, but we haven't done that, have we? Until the last few years, it's always been, tell someone off when they haven't done it right, and, and positive feedback is sort of, everyone understood it, but they didn't do it. So, but it's a habit that, I mean, how, this is your area of expertise. So Keith, how are people doing with this? I mean, in the corporate world and with your client, I mean, is this now really becoming mainstream, or how do you feel we're doing on the positive feedback loop idea?
I think there's tremendous opportunity for growth in this area. I don't believe that most people that are executives, most people that are managers, most people who lead people really appreciate that really emotions is what drives us. And we want to generate positive emotions. Too many leaders, too many executives will actually squash their emotions. You can't read what's going on in their head. You cannot see their emotions. They're like a poker face. And when they do not allow people to read them, they actually keep themselves distanced from other people. You don't perform at a peak level when you don't know how somebody's going to receive you. You perform at a peak level when you've got connection, when they, you know, they care about you, when they want the best for you, then you're going to play at a higher level for them.
Yeah, yes, and it's like also when we have a safe environment. So when you feel that you are going to management or problem solving in executive world or entrepreneurial world, if your employees, your team feel it's safe to come up with ideas, they're going to speak out or to actually say that's not working. I think isn't it? Actually, Tony, have you heard this story? Tony, his team was so terrified of him. There was some massive, like $100,000 was lost, okay? A huge amount of money. And they didn't tell him for ages and ages because they were all too terrified. So when they eventually did, they made it even worse because they'd not told him for all this time. But he learned because he actually realised that's dreadful, that my employees can't actually be honest and authentic with me because they're petrified. That's not a helpful way to be. And
Right.
he changed his way of working with people, and because he used to scream at them when they did it wrong. And this is a very evolved, very effective man, but no one's perfect. But in his later years, he went, oh my God, that doesn't work. I need to, So now he taught himself some sort of pattern interrupt trick. So when they go and tell him bad news, he thinks of something completely different. He immediately triggers a thought and sort of virtually counts to 10 and then goes, I think he says that's interesting. Because if he says that's interesting, he knows he can't go, ah, at them. So, which is an example of what you're saying. So if someone's done something wrong or something's gone wrong, you can, lose it and you can't do anything about it. Or you can actually think, right, we have a problem. How do we all work together to fix it? But it's so much easier in theory than it is in practice because it needs a lot of habit and commitment to that type of communication, doesn't it, Keith?
I call it a self-disciplined practice. It's more than a habit because it's constantly paying attention to how people respond to you and utilizing a response as feedback about your performance instead of just simply seeing it as being out there. You're always affecting the way people perform around you. And we want to elevate performance. I'd be willing to bet that Courtney elevates performance pretty consistently.
Yes. And so, well, coming back to Courtney. So, Courtney, what are your feelings on this? Okay, so let's go kind of to the tricky area, which is you said you've had learning disabilities, you've obviously had epilepsy, you've had seizures. So people responded to you really differently. Did you always get positive feedback in your life? Yes or no?
Yeah.
No, I didn't think so.
I mean, in elementary school, there was a teacher that, because I was low grade level in every single subject, that told my parents I would never graduate high school. Not only did I graduate high school, I graduated a community college and a four-year college. And at the four-year college, the guy that was in charge of the disability services said to me, maybe a 3-year degree is best for you. And I used both of those as motivation to prove them wrong instead of using it as a self-fulfilling prophecy and saying, okay, you say this, well, guess what? On my graduation day in 2012, from the four-year college, I saw the guy in charge of the disability office, and I said to him, thank you for everything you did for me. I was trying to be sarcastic because he doesn't realize what he said to me motivated me to say, no, what you're telling me is not right.
Yeah.
What you're telling me, I know better than what you are telling me is best for me.
I love this, Courtney, because you're demonstrating what Dean Graziosi taught Lisa and I. You're demonstrating the underdog advantage. You take what people say to you that doesn't affirm you, and you use it as a challenge to elevate your performance. That's awesome. Kudos to you.
Thank you. And like that alone just motivates me too, because with like I was always afraid to do sports because of that epilepsy. I didn't know like if I could do sports. And then I found Taekwondo, and I was like, well, this is exercise, this is a sport. I enjoy it. And I knew people that quit when they were one belt away from their first degree black belt. And I missed a lot of belts in my first try. And I got motivated because the head instructor of the school said to me, I missed my right belt on my first try. And I was like, I thought to myself, well, I didn't do that. I got my white belt on my first try. But I did miss a lot of belts in my first try. And then I paid it forward because I saw a kid crying after his class one time. And like after my class, just before his class. And I went up to him and his parents said, what's wrong? And the parents said, he missed his belt on his first try. I'm like, don't worry, I missed a lot of belts in my first try. You can do this. And I eventually got that first degree black belt, oddly enough, just before I graduated high school in 2003.
Wow.
So
that's impressive.
I accomplished two things in the same year, you know, and that was just amazing to me that I could push through anything that life threw at me, any curveball. Because I was told like by doctors, like, you can't swim, you can't go to dances with strobe lights, you can't do this, you can't do that. They never told me what I could do. And I had to figure it out on my own.
See, that's so what's so interesting, and this is always what fascinates me, is why some people are able to push through and you push through. So people, you've done, so Tony Robbins will say, you know, if you have a despair, you use it to basically jump off a cliff, or you use it to drive you to do extraordinary things. You know, when you reach an obstacle, you can go, it's hopeless, I give up, or you can go, right, you horrible obstacle, punch it on the nose, go round, under it, over it, or through it. Yeah, that we have a choice. And this is, I'm absolutely fascinated, I'm sure probably Keith is as well, is that why did you make that choice to not give up? Because, you know, people say, and I did before we answer that, people don't realise what a few casual words can do, right? I mean, the child that was called fat, you know, or the child that was called skinny, or somebody who maybe was very shy and was called names, and that can scar them for life. And just a few bad words can cause so much pain for so long. But let's turn that round, and a few good words can make such an incredible difference. But going back to Keith, why do you think Courtney, let's look at this. What do your ideas? What does it make people like Courtney push through when others would get stopped? Is it in their DNA? What? Because it sounds like you were quite young when you just went, I'm not taking this. So what do you think, Keith, in your experience, makes some people able to do that?
It all goes back to how we perceive the world. Mm-hmm. And Courtney perceived the world in a way that's uncommon. Mm-hmm. She perceived the world in the way that Steen Graziosi did. She perceived it as the underdog advantage.
Yes.
She took what most people put up as obstacles that other people would give up on, and she used that instead as a challenge to leap over it. That's exactly what people want to do to be successful. Yes. And when more of us do that, when more of us are like Courtney, this world will be a better place.
Woo!
Like Courtney.
Yeah. Is that go? Yes, Courtney. What do you think?
One thing that made me do the push through was because when I was 5, I was hiking with my parents in a local park where my siblings were in school, and all of a sudden, when we were hiking in the local park, a dead tree fell on my head and on my dad. And my dad told me he thought I was dead. And the neurosurgeon that, because I had a subdural hematoma, he said up to that point in his career, I was the closest patient he had to death. So him working on me, even though like I don't remember that, I remember the stories of that accident more than I remember it. But maybe that's just my mind protecting me, like, from that memory. But just hearing the stories and being like, oh my gosh, I came through that. What else can I do? Like, if like I can come out of something that I almost died from, like, there's nothing that can stop me.
Wow.
Like, and there's nothing that can stop anybody unless you let it. Like, some of my friends, it's sad to me because, like, they're like, oh, these people are telling me to do this. And I'm like, you can make your own decisions. You're in your 20s. You can make your own decisions. You can speak up for yourself. And I mean, I'm just starting to learn how to do that at 36, but I'm
Better late than never.
But I'm telling them, like, look, you can do this. You can make your own decisions. You can do things you like. You can have dreams and achieve them.
And just you being that person who can say the right thing at the right moment can change lives. It can save lives, not even change lives. You know, sometimes someone is having a really bad day and you don't know how close they are to taking their own life, and you smiling at them or being nice to them can be the difference. And we don't realise that. We go through life assuming we're not making any difference. We go around, I'm busy, I'm tired, I'm not thinking, you know, but it is so, if you think there's another way to live, which is that everything we do makes a difference, and think like, wow, I have this power to change and be a smile. If nothing else, be a smile for everyone you meet. And one of the things, I did something called Date with Destiny, which is the Tony Robbins course in December. And it's a big 6 day immersion. And you decide what your sort of destiny is. You really work out who you want to be. And I realised that I went round pretty miserable most of the time, even when I was trying to be doing amazing things. I had forgotten that life is about living a life you love. Life is about living with joy. We are not here to suffer. We're here to find love, beauty, joy, share, smile, dance. You know, why would we do anything else? But I hadn't. I mean, I'm much older than you. Probably the keys aren't so far apart. And you know, and I've had great fun times, but I've also stopped over the last 10 years. I started to stop smiling. I started to let life get to me. I started to make the wrong choices. I started to listen to the wrong people. And that's why I'm doing this, because I want to bring all the right people together, and so that we create a collection of amazing voices that you know, we are the right people. You are the people I want to promote in this world, so that we can make the world a better place. And I know that Dean and Tony do that. But you know, it all starts here with your voice, your poetry, which you're going to start reading. You should, crazy idea. Do you read it live every day? Do you do that? Have you thought about reading your poetry live each day? I think you should do that. I would love to hear it, and I think other people would love to hear it too. But it's creating beauty. You know, actually. Spoken, it has even more magic than written. So that's my challenge to you. I'm going to do a Keith. I'm going to challenge you now to do some lives with your poetry. Okay, so moving on now. If we're really, you said that, you know, like you used, Courtney, you used bad things to drive you. and that was great. But Keith, you didn't have bad things to drive you. So you see, some of us use sort of chaos and pain, and some of us use good experiences or desire. So Keith, you were more driven. You've come out of the desire, haven't you? Because did you have an event where things like made you go, I can't take this anymore? Is there a story there, or it was all desire driven for you?
I worked for the state of Indiana. I used to work 60 to 8 hours a week. And I didn't get paid any more than somebody who worked 40 to 45 hours a week. And I did it anyway.
Okay.
I did it because I care about people so much that I was willing to go that extra mile.
Right.
So that was a little obstacle.
A little
Not nearly as big as Courtney's obstacle, but it was an obstacle nonetheless.
Yeah, and I think that's something that's important. We can't compare our obstacles, because an obstacle is an obstacle and everyone's different. And I think we often forget that we're people with lots and lots of money, and we think, oh, they can just do anything. But it can still be relevant that one of their companies is about to go under, and that means they have to sell their helicopter, which for us, we're like, oh, that's a serious problem. Not. But it is to them. So according to where your life is, it all becomes relevant. And I think it's a big mistake where we go, well, their problems aren't as bad as mine or whatever. Everyone is where they're at. And we have to accept and acknowledge, that at the end of the day, everyone has problems and they might be big or small. So, okay. I love the phrase going done beats perfect, incidentally. I was, earlier on today, I was redoing creating templates. And I don't do arty, graphic-y stuff, but I was trying to redo the templates for my Dream Team podcast, and I've ended up giving it to my son. But it's like, that'll do. At least it's there. At least there's some art. So that phrase that Courtney knows from Nick Unsworth and Brian Delaney, they did this lovely course called Launch and Scale, and that's such an amazing one, because I think Keith, you'll agree, you've got to, sometimes you can be frozen by perfectionism and you just need to take some action, and look, Courtney's nodding because Courtney knows, because look what she's done. And it was so easy to go like, oh, I'm not ready yet, or the cover's not right. Incidentally, I love your cover and your colours for your book. It's so magical. Dreams come true. Obviously, because I'm into dreams, because the Dream Team podcast. So it is about just taking some action and moving ourselves along. Right, guys. Well, we're kind of coming towards the end of it. So is there anything else you guys want to share or tell to the audience about what you do? Is there any tips on living an empowered life? Any tips on pushing through? Who wants to go first?
I'll go. I've written a book, and my book consists of 12 ways to change people's lives through brief interactions. And if anybody is interested, I would be thrilled to send a chapter of my book. It's not yet been reviewed by an editor, but it's written good enough where you'll get value out of that chapter. The chapters are really short. And I promise you that if you want to read a chapter, if you reach out to me, I'll send you one. And you can reach me at Keith, Keith, at level3bydesign.com. That's Keith, Keith, at level3bydesign.com.
I'll put that in the comments.
Love to have you read a chapter of my book and benefit from it. Brilliant,
guys. So take advantage of that, and then you can get some positive feedback, constructive feedback if necessary. And Courtney, so obviously people need to get your book, but what do you have, any tips or anything, final information to impart to our audience?
Remember, there's always somebody out there that will support you in your dreams and support you through life. Like, one of the things that motivated me, besides 4 hours of poems being published in 4 different anthologies, was my parents gave me a rhyming dictionary and a poetry journal when I was still in middle school and high school. And I fell in love with poetry in middle school in creative writing class. So just having those early experiences with it and the support with it, thinking, well, maybe I can do this. It doesn't matter if I might get in my own way. And remember it, like that I can, I will watch me. You can, you will, we will watch you accomplish whatever you put your mind to. And you will accomplish your dreams in life. You just need to find those people that are there, out there supporting you. And don't listen to the negative and be like, oh, yeah, I'm this bad person. I deserve this treatment. No, you don't.
I love
You're
it.
not a bad person at all. It's just some people don't understand people with different abilities.
Yeah.
And that's sad, but that's how society is.
It's what it is, exactly.
And I mean, I'm sure I mistreated some people in my life, and I'm sorry that I did that. But rolling, no matter for whatever reason, is not right. And it hurts me when I see my friends being bullied by other people. I will now want to jump in there and in whatever format it is and say, look, they do not say this to them. Like, don't say to someone that has epilepsy, go have a seizure. Like, because that's not appropriate, first of all, because you know they have epilepsy and do have seizures. Second of all, why would you want that on anyone?
Yeah. Exactly. Unnecessary. Yeah. So, I mean, it's so lovely. We all need support, and find your support, and find your coach, find your mentor, find your community, and none of us need to be alone. But sometimes it's being brave enough to ask for help. It's being brave enough to say, I don't know how. Help me find out. And
you're not alone. You really aren't.
We're not alone, and the thing is, we need to get that out there. That now with the internet, no one ever needs to be alone. There are incredible people all over the world doing like we're doing, helping people. And if we're just here to help one person, if we just change one life, then that's a life well lived. Well, guys, it has been an absolute pleasure to talk to you both tonight. I have already posted your information up and down, up below and above the post, but I will put more in later on, and I'll get your email. If you just send me that email that you gave out earlier, Keith,
Sure.
and I will post
I
that
can do
on
that.
well.
Very good. Thank you.
I can give you my email too.
Yes,
so
please
give me
an email so people can contact you. And I just look forward to seeing how you guys do. It's going to be a tricky year for everyone, but you're both on an amazing path, and you're here to help, and you're here to transform people's lives. And what an honor it is to do that in this world. So thank you so much for both what you do. Thank you for joining me specifically tonight. And hopefully we'll catch up with you maybe next year, see how you guys are doing.
And thank you for what you're doing to
thank you, Lisa.
We appreciate that.
Thank you, Keith. Thank you, Courtney. You guys take care, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.